And I have the privilege of and the honor of introducing Dr. Ann Roat. I don't think she needs much of a biographical background. Everybody knows her. But I do want to tell you this before she takes over the podium is that, for the last year and a half, I have been past president, and I've had the chance to watch Ann in action. And she is one of the hardest working people, one of the hardest working presidents I think we've ever had in Serra. And I hope before this is over today that you will take time to thank her for the tremendous work that she has done. Ann, do you want to take over?
It is such a joy to be able to welcome you to St. Louis and to our Serra Leadership Rally. So, as he said, I'm Ann Roat, and right now the president of the USA Council of Serra International. But I really want to welcome our first-time attendees. So, if this is your first time, could I have you stand up or raise a hand or something? Oh, look at this! Look at this! Oh my gosh! Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I'm coming over this way. And first-time attendees, I want you to know that this weekend is going to prove to you that Serrans are some of the most wonderful people in the whole world. You are in for a treat spending time here with us. Now, as our custom is in the rally, it's time for me to give some opening remarks. But first, I want to talk to you about what is different about this leadership rally, because it's different. First-time attendees, you're not going to notice anything, but those Serrans who have been coming over the years, you're going to see a difference. And what is that difference about? Well, or why did that difference happen? The difference is this is totally based on leaders. Our whole focus this weekend is leaders, to help you lead your clubs, to help you maintain your clubs, and to give you those tools to do it. Why the change? Well, it's the result of a meeting about meetings in Chicago last April. And the boards of, members of the boards of both Serra International and the U.S. Council gathered in Chicago to talk about, meetings. And actually what we were talking about and why we were talking about it was because of you, our members. We wanted to make sure that we were serving our members in the best way possible. So we had heard from some of our Serrans that sometimes it was difficult to get here. So we discussed whether asking Serrans in the United States to attend our rally in January and then to attend the SI convention in June or July, if that was fair. Because some Serrans told us that oftentimes they had to make a decision on whether to attend the rally or to attend Serra International. Because you know what? They both looked a little bit the same. They both had absolutely great speakers, great guests, great religious, great priests, outstanding liturgies, wonderful conversations, very interesting sponsors, very insightful things. But Serrans told us sometimes this was difficult because they both looked the same. So we started at that meeting to discuss, to debate, to propose, to reject, to revise some kind of ideas on what does this have, moving forward, what does this have to look like? And we finally came to a consensus that the rally would focus on equipping leaders to lead, to ground them in our mission of fostering and affirming vocations to the priesthood and religious life, to present concrete strategies on how to increase membership, to listen to the experts on how best to serve parishes within our own dioceses, to learn about those vocation trends and how we could capitalize on some of those trends. Meanwhile, the convention would focus on allowing Serrans to experience the universal church, which is so critical, to show them what being aggregated to the Vatican really means, to help learn about what Serra clubs in other countries are doing, and to see the importance of vocation work to our Serra mission. So this rally is different. Our standing rally committee, which was just a great group of people to work with, have been meeting and discussing what does a leadership rally look like? What do we have to do to make this a real leadership rally? One of the initial ideas was to hold it someplace that was more conducive to learning and to get away from the hotels. So luckily, one of our members had just heard about, this is a year ago, had just heard about the Augustine Institute, and we did sort of a little virtual walkthrough, and we booked it. So this institute is noted for forming faithful Catholics, and then really as a graduate theological center for students. So we were thrilled to get here. Another idea that our standing committee talked about was giving us Serrans a chance to talk and learn from each other. Why? Because adults learn best from each other by sharing those experiences. So you're going to see that the evenings at this rally are sort of formed so that you can have those conversations. You can talk to a group, or you can go off one-on-one with people, just to have that opportunity to learn from each other. And then finally, we talked about you need firsthand practical knowledge. So you're going to see that at our breakouts, where some of our vice presidents and others will get up and give you some information you can take back immediately and use. So the rally's different this year. I mean, it's really different. However, we have things that remain the same. So we still have our favorite speakers. So Bishop Thomas Daly is here, and we're going to hear from him tomorrow night. And he's going to talk to us about being a servant leader, which should be good. We need that. Then also Father Jorge Torres, who was supposed to be here in person, but due to weather, we will be Zooming Father in. It'll be better this year than it was. Those of you who were here last year, it'll be better this year than it was last year. Yes, we will actually be able to listen to Father Torres. But he's here, and he is the executive director of the CCLV, which is Clergy, Consecrated Life, and Vocations for the USCCB, which is the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. And so he's going to talk to us about the latest statistics, especially with our vocations here in the United States. But then we also have some new and exciting speakers too. You just heard, last night we heard Bishop Mitchell Rosansky. What a great talk that he gave, and I thought that was wonderful for us. We also will hear from Father Paul Hazing, who is the rector and the president and rector of Kendrick Glennon Seminary here in St. Louis. Father Tony Ritter, who is the diocesan vocation director here at the Archdiocese. Sister Carolyn Nunez of the Sisters of St. Francis of the Martyr St. George. Wow, that's a lot to write. Who is here. And then you just heard from Dr. Tim Gray, and then Dr. Ben Akers was wonderful this morning. I think he talked to us about just what we needed to hear. So some great speakers, but there's still going to be time for adoration. There's still going to be time for confessions. And then really that personal reflection time. So if you just need some downtime, the chapel's open and you can just drop in at any point in time. And then our exhibitors are here. They're across the hall and they're just waiting for you to come and visit. So I think we've got some exciting exhibitors this year and I hope you'll go there. And then, of course, every evening, John Liston presides over the hospitality suite in the 6th floor, St. John Tower at the end of the hall. So you're welcome to drop by there and just don't be too late. Let John get to bed. Yeah. Okay, so since this is a leadership rally, I need to talk to you about being a leader. And some of the information we sent out said, learn to lead like Christ. And that's what our focus has to be. So as a leader in Serra, it's just that. You're called to have a focus. Look at Jesus. Before he did anything, he went up, he prayed in the mountain, but then he came down, totally focused on his mission. Whether it was calling the disciples or preaching, he was focused on what he was doing. So as a leader of Serra, you need that focus, but you also need what? Prayer. You have to have prayer. I mean, prayer is a critical part of it. So it's that, and we heard it this morning, it's that lifting up our hearts and minds to God. It's that conversation, that shared conversation with God. Serrans must be persons of prayer to fulfill our mission. Ideally, you have a dedicated time for prayer each day. And if you don't, it's never too late to start. You should also please have some specific times during the day that you're praying. Maybe you have a plan of prayer. Maybe you have a spiritual plan of life. But again, if you don't, it's not too late to start. So what I want you to do is grab your own copy of Serrans' Call to Holiness, the handbook for our spiritual life and the mission of fostering vocations. Read it. This tells us what we should be doing. It's divided into two parts. That first part is all about the spiritual life of Serrans. And then the second part gives us essentials for Catholicism. This is a resource that every one of you should have and use. I'm hoping most of our clubs give this out to their brand new members. Remember, to be a leader in Serra, you have to be a person of prayer. And then that second point that I want to mention is that focus. Jesus was always focused. When the devil was tempting him up on the mountain, was Jesus tempted? No, he was focused on his mission. He knew what it was about. The Samaritan woman at the well, she wasn't going to give him water and she really wanted to walk away, but he knew what his mission was. And what happens? He converted her and she runs and tells everyone, I just met the Messiah. And she spread that word. To be leaders of Serra, we need to focus and then we need to remain committed to our cause. You should actually know how to identify a goal, what little steps you need to take it, how to persevere in pursuit of that goal. As a leader, you have to be very familiar with our mission and vision of Serra. We promote and affirm vocation to the priesthood and vow religious life and grow in personal holiness. You should know that. As a matter of fact, all Serrans should know that. So think about your club meetings. What about after your opening prayer, have a Serran, not read it, a Serran stand up and repeat the mission in his or her own words. And that way everybody gets to hear it. And they're going to remember what our mission is. Make sure that every Serran knows what our mission is and keeps their focus on it. Focus. Communication. This is such a critical thing for a leader of Serra. I'm looking at Ann Zadansky saying, we gotta communicate. We really do. That's just critical. So that's that imparting or exchanging of ideas. And it's that skill of sharing our ideas and what? Getting others to believe in them. Leaders help others understand what that big picture is. In addition to being communicative, our leaders need to be able to listen. They need to be able to listen and to hear what somebody else is saying. They need to weigh the ideas and feelings of others and then figure out how to move forward with it. Our organization has a vision. We have a mission, but we need people who can communicate that mission and vision. So you need to read about our patron. Well, study the life of St. Eudeboro Serra. I mean, it's fascinating to read and to learn about our patron. And from that learning, you can communicate, learn how to communicate both our mission and then also talk about the work of our patron. Whoa, strategic thinking. Some people think that's a bad word. I happen to love strategic thinking. But that's the ability to plan and to figure out how to move ahead, to know what your goal is, and then to get the little steps in place to move towards that goal and to strategize always how you're going to get there. All visions must be planned for and thought through. Good leaders will prepare for the work that they want to do in the future, what it needs to look like, and create those strategies. I'm going to repeat this twice. Every local Serra club needs a plan. They need a plan in place each year. It is not enough to go to a meeting and say, what are we going to do this month? Who do we want to get for a speaker? No, there needs to be a plan in place. And that plan, I love it when I see a plan for the whole year. I love it when a club shows that they're sending out a calendar for the whole year. And you know who the speakers are and what's going to happen. Vocation work needs to be planned. So leaders for vocations, you need to be aware of What? The current statistics. What do vocations in the United States look like? How many seminarians are in your diocese? How many active priests do you have in your diocese? How many men will be ordained this year? How many men were ordained last year? Those are some statistics that you as a Serran need to know. And then remember, you can always get those up-to-date statistics from the CARA report. And if you're a club president, you received a link to a copy of the CARA report from me last April, I'm thinking. But that link would take you to the United States Council website, where we always have the latest CARA report. So know that if you go to the frequently requested documents, Mike is saying yes, frequently requested, and click on the link, you'll get the latest CARA report. So you'll know what's going on with our newly ordained and what drew them. Were most of them altar servers? Were they mostly homeschooled kids? But that information is there, and you need to know that. So if vocations are our business, we need to actually know those numbers. So remember that the role of a leader of Serra is to actively seek out vocations. But to do that, you have to have a plan. It's our responsibility just to have a personal plan, but in addition to that, for our club to have a plan. So every local club needs to take some time each year to do planning, because building a culture of vocations takes that strategic thinking. And lastly, leaders need enthusiasm. Those little children came to Jesus, and the reason they came to Jesus was because they were captured by the enthusiasm, by the love that that just permeated from him. So, Serrans, you need to have that feeling of excitement. One of the most important characteristics you can display as a leader is enthusiasm for our mission and our vision. Our passion and our zeal should reach out to others and inspire those others to actually feel the same and to help them become invested in our vision. Remember, if a leader does not believe in our mission, then you can't encourage others to work for it. Serra leaders are inherently positive people, and they help others draw strength from that positivity. And you need to be enthusiastic supporters of the priesthood. So having that enthusiasm for vocations actually makes you a cheerleader for priests. You have to have that enthusiasm for our priests, our religious, our deacons, our brothers, our sisters, our consecrated religious, anyone who has dedicated their life for Christ. We need to cultivate that enthusiasm for vocations, because that's an integral part of our life. So remember that as a leader of Serra, and you're all leaders here, you have to lead like Jesus. Use his example. Start by dedicating that 1 hour of prayer each day for vocations. And make sure that when you're praying, you're asking God specifically to send us holy vocations. You need to focus on our mission. You need to memorize it, share it with others, and then be sure that you're always working to promote that vision, to foster that vision. You need to communicate what we as Serrans do. Don't let people go around thinking we're the tree huggers. You need to communicate. No, seriously. Someone just told me they got an email from someone in the diocese who, I know who it is. Someone in their diocese who wanted the Sierra Club to do a reception. Yes. So let's make sure that everyone knows what we do and they know who we are. So tell our friends and your family so that they know what our apostolate is about. Use your strategic thinking skills to plan for the future of your club, because make sure you're on track of whatever goals you've set for your club this year. And then finally, maintain that enthusiasm for vocation work. Become a supporter of every single priest you meet. Serra needs you to step up, and the United States Council needs you to be that committed leader for vocation work. We need you to lead like Christ led. So please think about what I just finished telling you. Serra needs men and women who are willing to be invested in working for vocations. Each of you has seen the statistics. You know what's going on in your own dioceses, your own parishes, and you know what this means, this work that we're doing means for our Holy Mother Church. We need holy priests. We need holy permanent deacons, and we need holy consecrated religious. And it is up to each of us as Serrans to become that leader of vocations. Because in the words of our patron, St. Eudipio Serra, always forward, never turning back. Now, I'm going to ask, please take a time today to read my welcome letter in the program, because that'll give you some insights into some things that I want you to remember, or some little helpful hints as you go through this weekend. So definitely take a look at that. And then I want you to remember to take advantage of this different format. And I was going to say, Colonel, where's Colonel? Oh, Colonel was supposed to be our guide. Like, Colonel's got a little frog in his throat. So we have a big frog in his throat, So we have our stand-in, our immediate past president, Mike Downey. So he'll be guiding us. So listen to him, because he'll tell you where we should be going and what we should be doing. I also need to thank the Standing Rally Committee. I worked with these people for over a year in this planning. And so I'm going to have you stand. Mike Downey, Peter Jude, Maura is not here, John Liston, stand up or raise your hand. Nobody listens. Oh my gosh. We had this problem at the board meeting yesterday too. Ken Pete, myself, Kimberly Roca, Juanita Smith, Suzanne Smith, and Marvin Winkler. Let's just give them a hand. Okay, very importantly, take it home. Do not leave it here. Take home whatever you have learned here, whatever you hear here, good ideas, take it home, but don't put it on a shelf. Take it home, use it, and share it. That's critical. Now, I think I have a couple minutes left, don't I? Thank heavens. Okay, this is me talking to you. Okay. Okay. So back in October in my diocese, we do the appreciation dinner. So this year they invited me to come and speak. I found out later because Bishop couldn't make it. So I got up and spoke, and I use a PowerPoint when I speak and everything. And when it was all over, one of my club members, Deacon Ed Bose, I'm going to throw him out there. Deacon Ed Bose came up, and he looked at my last slide, and I had 2 points on it. It was like, priests, if you need anything, call us, call Serra. Sisters, if you need anything, call Serra. And he looked at it and he pointed and he said, "Where's permanent deacons?" And I said, "Oh, what do you mean, where's permanent deacons?" "Well, why aren't they up there?" I said, "Oh, that has nothing to do with the United States Council, because it's an issue for Serra International. I mean, it's them, that's it, yes." So, yes. So he said to me, "When I see someone with the title of president, I know that they can affect change. What are you going to do?" And I just laughed at him. But that next week, every time I went to adoration, it kept coming up. And I was like, "Yeah, Lord, that's somebody else's job. Someone's going to take care of this." And finally, I got tired of him not saying anything, and I thought, maybe the Lord's not responding because I'm supposed to do something. So I did some research on how to change our Constitution, and discovered, how to do that. I invited all the deacons I could find from the 9 regions of our Serra United States, and asked them to meet with me. And some of them couldn't, but they sent comments. I told them what I was going to try and do. And there was a permanent deacon, Philip Jackson from Galveston, Houston, and he's the head of the permanent diaconate. And he was amazing and gave me wonderful advice and sent me great resources. I put something together, and then I asked the deacons to come back and comment on everything. Got some great comments. Deacon David Flynn, who's sitting back there, actually did give me some really good comments. And we put together a bylaws change proposal. That proposal then I sent it to my board because I just can't do it myself. It needs to come from a council or a club. So I sent it to the 19 members of my board and said, hey, should we do this? And 18 of them said yes. So at that point, we submitted it on the Feast of Saint Stephen, who I think might be sort of a model for deacons. So we have sent it to all members of the Serra International Council on the Feast of Saint Stephen. And then I heard some great things back from them, like, yeah, let's do this. Let's foster vocations to the permanent diaconate too. There were some comments about some things that needed to be changed. And so Emmanuel Costa was gracious enough to have a Zoom meeting with myself, Maura McQueen, and Margot Getty. We looked at it. One of the things that we talked about was the order that we put this extra point in for the mission. And the deacons had recommended, and I agree, that it should be second. So pray for priests, pray for permanent, foster vocations for permanent deacons, consecrated religious, and then grow in personal holiness. But the Serra International had some comments about that, like, no, we've already been having the consecrated religious twice. That's not going to be right if we, move them. But we talked a lot about sacramental theology and the fact that holy orders is about 3 orders: bishops, priests, and permanent deacons. So we thought that was kind of critical to keep that praying and fostering vocations for priests, then for permanent deacons, then for consecrated religious, and then for our personal holiness. I'll get questions. Okay, then personal holiness. So they also had a comment about some of the wording for that point. So they shortened it a little bit. So at that point, Emmanuel had me rewrite everything. I did that, and Emmanuel sent it to the bylaws committee. And Kurt Medico, who heads that bylaws committee, just sent me an email last week to say it's fine. It can go through, but it's going to mean a change in the Constitution. So that'll be a 2/3 majority vote at the Serra International Convention on July 9th through the 12th in Indianapolis. So that vote will be there. So here's your call to action. If you too feel, how many of you have permanent deacons in your club? How many of you know a permanent deacon? How many of your parishes have permanent deacons? Okay, now if you think this is a change that we should pursue, I need you to vote for the change. So every club gets a vote. Now, that vote is cast in person in Indianapolis. So you could send somebody from your club to Indianapolis to vote, or you can give your proxy to somebody else, your club's proxy, which would be a district governor. Are there any district governors here? All right. If you don't want to give it to your district governor, you can give it to your regional director. Any regional directors here? Right, okay. And if you don't want to give it to your regional director, you just mail it to me. You basically give us the ability to vote for the amendment. So, sorry giving you my personal agenda, but I really wanted to share that with you because this is a great opportunity just to let you know what we're doing. So pray about it and then decide what your club's going to do. Okay, God bless.